Hello, Doc here with an interesting topic. The topic is negativity. So, what is negativity? What are emotions? Let's talk about emotions. Emotions are called energy in motion. It's a feeling. You know, when you feel something, it's not just in your head, it makes chemicals in the body. The heart starts pumping, the nose dilates when you want to run. So in the old days, people used to get these feelings because a tiger was chasing them or they were chasing a deer for food. But nowadays, a brown envelope comes through your door, you open it, somebody has charged you 10 pounds extra, you get angry and you don't express it, and that harms you. That is negative emotion in a very simple way. So jealousy, frustration, anger, any of these emotions that make you feel down. You get a phone call from a friend, and when you leave it, you should feel happy because he's your friend. But if you get these phone calls and you say, oh my God, that means he's not your friend, he's not doing you any good. So emotions, as I was saying, are chemicals that are happening in the body, but they are under your control. You don't have to be a victim of these. So emotions affect your body long term, and positive emotions, neutral emotions, and negative emotions all affect your life. It's better to have a positive than a negative emotion, but it's best to be neutral. That's what relaxation or any of these methods, whether it's meditation or prayer or ibadat, they're all there to calm you down so that you can be in the best frame of mind to create, to be pleasant, to be attractive to other people. Because if you are in any emotion, positive or negative, you are away from your soul. To be with yourself, you have to be unconnected. So let's talk now about negative emotions. You know what emotions are? Negative. Negative emotions cause chemicals that harm you. So when you're angry, your heart is racing, your nose is dilated, there's blood going to your legs, your brain has switched off. Yes, if you're crossing the road and a bus comes, you don't have to calculate the distance and the weight of the bus and the weight of you. You'll be the victim. So in that you just act without your brain coming into action. But most of the time, we use the brain, and the brain only works if it's in a neutral phase. So the most important part of the human brain is this part. It's called the cerebral cortex. And right in the front is where the chief executive of your brain is sitting. The front of the brain, the frontal brain, and that only works when you're calm. And negative emotions goes to the amygdala, fires and kills your brain off. So it's a ship running without a rudder. There's no captain on the ship. It'll go here, it'll go there. And the mind, as you know, is a very powerful beast. The Buddhists call it the monkey mind. You're sitting in your home saying, oh, he's not phone. Oh, she said this to me. Oh, in the office that's happening. It just wanders through a desert, through a maze without any connection. And the beauty of a calm mind is it stays focused on the topic that you need to be focused on. And as I was saying, it's best to have no emotion, to be switched off and relaxed as you are in your sleep. But even in your sleep, if you have had a bad day, your brain is working overtime and giving you bad dreams. So let's learn that negativity produces harm. Negative emotions really hurt us in very, very many ways. You become unpopular. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to do business with you because you've been angry, you've been frustrated, you've been shouting, you've been banging the table. The most important thing is when you're calm and you're listening. And I believe that listening to people is the biggest spiritual gift you can give anyone. In today's world, everyone's in a rush. You sit in a train. I remember as a child in the train, you would chat with everybody. But now, if you are in London particularly, in the tube, you try to talk to someone, they'll give you an answer and go back in the newspaper. I don't get angry anymore. I just feel, man, if you were talking to me, you could exchange some good life lessons. Because every human being has something to teach me, every single. The worst human being has some good quality. And if you exchange things, you feel better, your health is better. You might think I'm just talking about the feeling of being happy. No, negative emotions harm you at the deepest level. You know the DNA is like twisted spiral. On the top of them, there are things called telomere, T-E-L-E M-E-R-E, telomeres. They are like caps on top. And the longer the cap, the longer you live. So when you watch anything negative, you feel frustrated, you feel angry, and the telomere means your life is getting shorter. And I've seen so many experiments. And as you know, if you read something, you're affected. If you watch a picture, you're affected. 1,000 words is a picture. If you watch a movie, you come out with tears in your eyes. You know in your mind that they're just acting a story out, but you really become immersive. So television medium is very, very, very powerful. It's bad enough reading bad news, right? It's worse hearing bad news, but it's worst of all if you're immersed in a television show. So I'll tell you later on how it affects you and how you should stay away from it. In the next part, I'll tell you the deep effects of negative emotion. You may be wondering why I've got an iPad in my hand. It is because I want to quote a very famous man who affected me in the knowledge that he has shared on the internet. It's called Grow Therapy. The gentleman is called Dr. Alan Diebel, D-I-E-B-E-L. If you look in there, he's got a whole series on how negativity affects our mind, particularly watching television or reading newspapers. He has the effect of news on mental health, and he says it gives us 75% of the people he reviewed told him that it affects their mind if they watch criminality on television or newspaper. 75% also saw mass shootings and it affected their minds. I mean, you're not a human being if you're not affected. Of course you are a human being. So it affects us negatively. 75% of the people who see war and killing and a bad future and think about price rise. I mean, the world is as it is. You cannot change the price rise. You cannot change the wars. Why do you watch it, is what he's saying. He then talks about symptoms and signs that news could be negatively affecting you. So he talks about excessive worrying. I mean, the least you worry. What do we worry about? What's going to happen, isn't it? Nobody worries about the past. It's done. How about staying here, like in this room with me, just listening to only what I'm saying, not be affected by the birds outside, your children playing upstairs, or your wife cooking next door. No, just be here and you'll get more out of it. He also says nervousness, people who are anxious, moving all the time, breathlessness, mental tension, headaches, rapid heart rate. We all now have watches that measure heart rate. Measure your heart rate while you're watching something painful on television. Difficulty in swallowing, difficulty in speaking, stuttering, stammering as a new thing, low mood, sadness, feeling empty, anger, and slowly from just anxiety, people are dipping into depression. He also says difficulty in focusing on one issue. If someone is sitting in front of you and you're constantly looking here and there, you're not with him. What's the point? Then he talks about the effects of reading newspaper versus watching television. And there's very clear proof that watching is much more immersive. As I've said before, a picture is worth 1,000 words. But what you're watching is 25 or 32 frames per second and a sound as well. The only thing missing is a smell. So a television medium is much more immersive and therefore affects you much more. Be careful what you watch, is what I'm telling you. And then he talks about how to deal with it. So let's go into this. What Mr. Diebel is saying, D-I-E-B-E-L, look him up on the internet, is that be careful what you watch. Because what you watch, as I was telling you, not only affects how you think, how you feel, how you relate to people, it affects your life expectancy. There's a doctor in India, age 35, and he had a heart attack. And for a year he didn't work. So he researched into telomeres and he found that human beings are very compassionate. They've got fibers in the front of the head which are called Gandhi fibers or compassionate fibers. In Urdu we call it hamdardi, compassionate. Passion is pain, com means together. So if the man filming me is in pain, I feel the pain if I'm a human being. Now, some people have more, some people have less, but humans are compassionate. Even animals are compassionate. Animals get upset. A cow gets upset when the calf it dies, and so on. Every single human worries about their child. Every single animal worries. We are compassionate. He says, but these compassionate vibes should not be used to harm you. If I can't help you, I just feel bad and depressed. What's the point? In Urdu, there's a saying, "Hum to doobe hain sanam, tum bhi mere saath doobo." If someone is drowning and you can save them, jump. And if you can't save them, pray. What's the point of jumping in? So 2 lives are lost, not 1. So he talks a lot about immersive experience. And now we have surround sound. Also, let me tell you about filmmaking. Somebody took a shot of black children in New York playing basketball and put in 2 different sounds. One was a beautiful surround sound of music of Tchaikovsky with the same shot. Another was poor quality telephone kind of sound, and the music was very rough. And he asked filmmakers to judge not the sound but the video. And do you know what happened? The bad sound looked bad to professionals, and the good sound made the same film look good. So sound affects the back of our brain. You know, when I'm sitting here and I hear the sound of a koel, the cuckoo bird, I think I'm in my hometown eating mangoes. It's deeply ingrained. Sound affects us subtly, subliminal sound. So if there's sound, movement, and you're only staring at the box, and let me tell you, when these Apple things are coming, it'll be even worse, because you'll be in another world which doesn't exist. So I would now want to talk about, be careful of what you watch. And be careful on this, because now people watch many things on this box. And I have restricted my watching to 2-3 hours, which is a hell of a lot. There are people who children watch for hours and hours and hours and hours, and they forget that they are watching a game. They think it's real. Recently in America, the judge asked a 16-year-old boy, "Why did you shoot? Why did you kill this man? You don't know him. I know you had a pistol, which you shouldn't have, but you shot him right here." And the boy said, "Sir, I forgot that I'm in the real world and not on my Xbox." So the same thing about games. Be careful what your children are watching. I know this is a bit different from the topic, but watching is very powerful. You become part of the scene. So when you're watching a movie and the hero is doing romance, you think you're Shah Rukh Khan. That's what you pay for. You pretend to be them. They are doing the acting. You can't act, but you become them. You see a beautiful lady on film, you think you're doing the romance. I had experience once in York where a newsreader, Angela, came up, and I was going with my wife, and I said hello to her, and she just smiled and walked off. I thought I know her, but then I realized I know the television woman doesn't know me. So television, as I say, makes you think that you know the Prime Minister, that you know all these great characters. You don't, but it makes you think you do. So apart from watching television for too long, I know I'm on a satellite channel, but if you keep watching negativity for very long, it completely harms you. I'm not looking at the time, you know. I'm looking at my Apple Watch and filling in how I'm feeling just now. I'm feeling very pleasant, and it's asking me to describe. So what I'm feeling is happiness, a little bit of excitement, and more than that, I'm serving you. The same holds in life generally. If you're connected with people and serving them, you forget your troubles, aches and pains, and they'll go away. The one thing I forgot to tell you is why negative emotions are affecting us strongly and for longer, and why positive emotions are very short-lived. It is because negative emotions are about survival. So when we all go into a survival mode, we are going into the poverty mode, like as if we are in the jungle hungry, or if the lion behind me is hungry, and that you remember. So in psychology, it is said you remember negative emotions for 13 years. 13 years. Can you imagine that? So that's my friend, the cameraman filming me. He might say 99 nice things, but once he criticizes, "Why do you get your hair cut so short?" I'll remember that for 13 years. Can you imagine how silly human beings are, how silly I am? And that is all of us. So often you'll hear the woman saying, "Oh, you didn't come to the birth of your first child." For God's sake, that happened 50 years ago. But I'm not talking about women in particular, we all do that. So learn how to let go of negative emotions. Be positive. If someone hurts you, be nice to them. Not because they need it, you need it. We give because it makes us feel good. So be charitable. So let's look at the ways this gentleman was talking about how then to improve your life. So one thing I mentioned, you limit your time duration of how long you watch television. Get the headlines and let it be. You're not the Prime Minister of this country. You don't need to know every detail. I mean, there are people who know everything on general knowledge. Well, Google has it all. Every spelling I can do, well, spell check will do that for you. So let's, as human beings, evolve. Human beings are curious animals. Why does man go on the moon? Why did Tenzing and Hillary climb Mount Everest in 1956? And do you know the answer what Hillary gave? Because it's there. Because we are curious. If you're content with life, life becomes boring and unhappy. Go out and explore. Go for a walk instead of watching that box constantly. That's one thing. And watch, if you want to watch news, don't eat only news. Watch a little bit. If you're still tied to the country of birth, watch it for 2 minutes. But if you're constantly living in the subcontinent, who's going to live here? I know so many of our immigrants who know nothing about politics in this country, who know nothing about the beauty of where we are. I live in Newcastle. It's a beautiful place. We've got 7 lovely bridges behind me, a lovely river called Tyne, Kielder Forest there, there's castles. This is the place where Harry Potter was shot in Alnwick. And many of us haven't gone there, particularly the immigrants. They need it. And it's called integration. It's called plurality. I have my faith, I have my beliefs, but you also have something, and maybe I can imbibe something from you. The world used to be very isolated. People lived in the mountains of Afghanistan, of South India, of Iran, of Sweden, and so on. But we are all coming together through medium. And to live together makes it a very interesting place. So one of the things to do is try to watch positive things. There's so much on YouTube, on your smart television you can watch. South Asia Global being one of them. And definitely we aspire to have a very positive take on life. Life is hard enough without pushing more stress down your throat. Because as I told you, stress causes steroids, which makes you grow old quicker, which weakens your bones, which gives you glaucoma in the eyes, which gives you dementia. But if you stay happy by proper breathing or prayer or watching positive things or gardening or being nice to your neighbor, it really makes you a health conscious person. I am myself 77 years old, but I'm not 77 years old. I'm busy doing things for people. For instance, I'm on this channel. It gives me great joy. People know me. I'm not doing it because people don't know me. I've got some good ideas I want to share with you. Knowledge is for sharing. It's not like money, that if you give you some money, your pocket will become loose. The more you give knowledge, the more you give skills, the more you'll learn. And the only good thing about human beings is 1.5 kilograms of brain. The human brain has the biggest forebrain. A cow's brain is the same weight as mine, except the forebrain is very small. The computer in the cow's brain is very small. The rest of it is just for bodily functions. The cheetah can run faster than me. The alligator can bite more than me. The bear has got more hair. Birds can fly. Butterflies can look pretty. What they can't do is rational thinking, future planning. But also this brain can be very damaging because it creates the scene. And you'll know that the fact is, whether you imagine something or dream something, or it happens in the real, R-E-A-L, in the real world, it doesn't matter. It is exactly the same to the subconscious. So whether you're imagining in a dream that you climb Mount Everest, your muscles will start acting. I've met Olympic athletes in this country who every morning meditate to say, I'm standing on tier 1 of the 3rd position, 2nd position, and gold position. That is where they want to stand. So start visualizing good things. Don't think badly of your enemy. There is no one an enemy except your own mind. There is no enemy, even there is no friend. It's just you. What are you without your money, without your qualifications? When you leave, how many people will come to your funeral? That is the question. So let's leave the world a better place, better informed, more connected, more happy, because most of the media is about selling things. We are here to make you feel good, to make you be more accepting and more accepted by society. So that's all for today, but you'll see me again next week with another topic. See you soon.